It's a beautiful Tuesday, and of course, we said always our slogan, winners never quit. Yes, and of course, we got many games coming up today, and Carabao Cup, Arsenal versus Chelsea await. Of course, we got many games up, and Barcelona too. So, I got something just a small, reaction always in communication feedback. It's necessary, of course, with some comments, some people saying that I need to limit how, like the talk should be small. No, I told you, this is not TikTok that I need to list. Yes, because they got that unlimited, actually, um, coverage. You need to limit the talk. The thing here is, I want you to understand and hope you're making a decision. Yes, I may give you, but how did I arrive to that, of course, that decision? Need to understand. Now, that is why we always make errors and we jump to conclusion without understanding how comes. So you better be patient. Here is only for patient people. Yes. So make sure that you just bear with it. If you cannot bear with it, then maybe probably you are in the wrong place. Here is only for people who are patient and willing to understand, because this one involves something that actually that involve money, and people are risking. So you must understand. You can choose to take or not to take, depending on the analysis and understanding, because some of you don't do this research, but we do it, and that is why I want you to understand them. I took that minutes just to talk about that. So let's jump, of course, to our tickets. We got three of them, and we're starting with Carrick Rangers versus Bango. This, of course, is in Northern Ireland Premiership, and of course, if you're to look at Carrick itself, sits on the 8th positions in that league, and then Banga, of course, on the 7th position. And if you're to look at Carrick itself, in the last 5 games, of course, won 3 and lost 1, draw 1, which is not quite bad. And Banga, of course, lost 3, managed to pick 2 wins in the last 5 games. So ideally, if you had to look at this performance for these two teams, they're all doing quite, we can say, not very bad. That is alarming. And if you had to look at the positions, these are the people who are fighting for the position. So this game, it's very risky for us to go with a straight win in this game. But if you had to look Carrick being at home, somehow can give us that feel like we need to guard. So for this case, we're going to give home win or draw. Win or draw to Carrick Rangers. Either they win or they draw. Yeah. So for the first game, the second game, of course, is Arsenal versus Chelsea, and we all know that this is Carabao, and Arsenal really is doing quite well at the moment, and Chelsea, after the sacking their coach, Maresca, of course, now this gentleman is doing quite well. But will this history repeat itself? Remember, the first leg, actually, Arsenal bet Chelsea. So I don't know really what could be these pure results. Look at Arsenal, of course, in the last 5 games. They won 3, lost 1, and draw 1. And that loss is only from Manchester United. Chelsea as well won 4 matches and lost 1, which is kind not very bad for them. And this loss, of course, generally came from that very Arsenal in the first leg of their Carabao Cup. Now, let's see. What do you think would be the results? But if you to look at Chelsea, I am a very big Chelsea fan, but if you to look at their history, in the last 10 games, of course, Chelsea has not beaten Arsenal. There are 3 draws, and Arsenal managed to pick 7 wins from that. Yes, which is kind of really not good for us. But for the purpose of this, of course, it's a big game. I can't give us no straight win as well because things can happen, and Chelsea as well I cannot give. But the only options that I can go with from here is over 1.5 for us to be safe, because I know goals will be scored here. People will score goals, but I don't know from which side. I can't give any team a straight win. Yes, but we are expecting at least for 2 goals to appear from this game. Yeah, that is the second game, of course, in the first ticket. Then, of course, the last game in this first ticket is Bolgona versus AC Milan. That is AC Milan. Now, you know this Serie A team, they always play on Monday. And Monday sometimes look fine for others, others don't look fine. But if you're to look at Bulgaria, of course, in the last 5 games, of course, they managed to pick 2 wins. They lost 2 and they drew 1. And of course, Inter Milan, AC Milan, rather, of course, also won 2, draw 3. They have not lost any game in the last 5 games, which is very okay for them, and they're actually doing very, very well. But history, it's always what we best on. In the last 5 games, that is head to head, of course, Bolgona won 2, and AC Milan also won 2, and there's one which is shared between them, that is a draw. So in this game, still between these two teams, we shall guard AC Milan away from home. There would also be a guard in this game. So the first ticket, Carrick Rangers will guard. Arsenal versus Chelsea over 1.5. Bolgona versus AC Milan. We are also guarding AC Milan. Get it right. That is the first ticket. Then, of course, going to the second ticket, this is already a cup for this Spanish team. We have Albacete versus Barcelona. Now, we all know that Barcelona is doing quite well at the moment. Of course, in the last 5 games, they only lost 1. They won 4, which is quite good. They are sitting on top of the Liga table, which is quite very nice for them. And of course, Albacete, also, if you to look, they won 3 and drew 1, lost 1 in the last 5 games, which is actually very okay for them. Now, what decision can we make from here? We're going to give a straight win to Barcelona. Then, of course, the third game in the second ticket is Marseille versus Rennes. Of course, this is also French league, but this is a cup, this French cup. And if you're to look at these two teams, they got some good records, and Rennes, of course, won the last 3 games in the last 5 games, lost 1, drew 1, and as well Marseille also managed to pick 3 wins, of course, in the last 5 games and lost 2. But the loss, of course, was last weekend. That is when Marseille didn't do quite well. But all in all, these are soccer we expect always. And these 2 teams, all of them won 4 in the last 10 meetings, and then also 2 draws. So for this game, we shall also go with one thing that I want is we shall guard Marseille. In that very tickets, of course, a second ticket is Bayern Leverkusen versus St. Paul. So if you to look at also these 2 teams, Bayern Leverkusen of recent, yes, pick up after some good loss, and it's not bad for us to always trust these 2 teams. So St. Paul did not register any win in the last 5 games. They drew 3 and they lost 2, which is kind of not bad. But let's look at the head-to-head meeting. They won 4 and they drew 1 and they lost nothing, of course, in the last 5 games. So this gives Bayern Leverkusen a chance of winning this game, and I will go with a straight win for Bayern Leverkusen. Yeah, so the second ticket got Albacete versus Barcelona, straight win Barcelona. Then Marseille versus Rennes. This one we shall get Marseille, and then Bayern Leverkusen versus St. Paul. We give Bayern Leverkusen. Now, the third ticket for today is Portsmouth versus Ipswich. This is in England, England Championship, and we know that Ipswich did as bad last time. They didn't do quite well, but all in all, it's a soccer. We expect all that. We expected them to actually win. So Portsmouth in the last 5 games, of course, won 1, lost 2, drew 2, and Ipswich won 4, lost 1 in the last 5 games. So, which is giving Ipswich upper hand of winning this game. But remember, Portsmouth is also not easy, but basing on what we're seeing and the history between these two teams, Ipswich to win. Yes, Ipswich to win. For those who may not trust Ipswich fully, for you can also go with over 1.5, which is likely to happen. But we know with this championship things, there's like sometimes one team can actually score 90 minutes, one goal, and over just fail just like that. Yeah, so that is of course the third ticket, the first game on it. And the second one, of course, is AZ Alkmaar versus FC20. This is in Netherlands, which is actually not bad. But if you to look at AZ Alkmaar, of course, is doing quite well. And also FC20. These two teams always are goal scorers. But it's always also good to play safe for these two teams. Never trust AZ Alkmaar Wally or FC20. The appropriate things that we can go with between these two teams is over 1.5 to be safe, because these two teams are good at disappointing people. Yes, AZ, they have ever done that. FC20, so over 1.5. I see it's appropriate for us. Then, of course, the last game, someone has said before that you've never talked about South African games. Today, I'm going to put it as my last game. That is Amazulu versus Orlando Pirates. So this is a team that we know that is a big in South Africa Premier League. And of course, if you're to look at Mazulu, sits on the 4th positions, and Orlando Pirates, of course, sit on the 2nd position in that league. Now, if you're to look at Mazulu in the last 5 games, of course, they won 3, lost also 2, and Orlando's, of course, won 4, draw 1. There's no loss in the last 5 games. Now, these two teams have also ever met head-to-head, actually, history in the last 9 meetings. You find that Orlando Pirates won 7 and there were 2 draws, of course. Now, which is very difficult for this Amazulu actually to beat Orlando Pirates. And look at that, actually, the performance. Yeah, most likely. If you see the hold is too big, you can guard Orlando Pirates away from home. Yeah, let's guard Orlando Pirates away from home. Some people might choose even to play actually a straight win for Orlando Pirates because they got stars and those guys plays very well. They attack balls, always they're attacking. And of course, they have a good defense compared to the Amazulu. Yes. So this gives them a happy end of taking it or a draw for them. Anything can happen in these games. It's always a guarantee. So these are my predictions, of course, for today. And we said winners never quit. Anything can happen. Stay well and stay blessed. I wish you guys the best.